Hi, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for clicking. This has been a long-awaited one. Today we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of Shopify versus Etsy, but this is going to be a kind of unique video because it's going to be my first impressions since I'm still really new to Shopify, and I hope to make a part 2 to this video and kind of like update you on my thoughts then. But I've been on Shopify now for about 2 months. I was on it a long time ago, but now my business is much different, so I don't really count that. I didn't use it very much. So this is going to be pretty much my first impressions right off the bat of switching from Etsy to Shopify. I did organize it into Shopify pros then cons, Etsy pros then cons, but some of them are almost like a bit of both. Selena Gomez's Rare Beauty blush, and I don't know if it looks glowy or just wet on camera. I feel like on camera it's such a different ball game when it comes to makeup. Obvious disclaimers, I'm still new to Shopify. Etsy, I'm not like a total expert, so these are just my opinions, be subject to change. And these are just my personal experiences based on my business and what I'm selling. So let's do this. So the first most obvious pro, the whole reason I pretty much really wanted to switch to Shopify in the first place, is that it is completely customizable. Like, you build the website pretty much yourself. You just input what you want, the layout, everything is up to you, whereas Etsy is very put together in a certain way. Everybody's shop is kind of laid out the same, so I like that it's customizable. I'm obviously a huge control freak, and when you have your own business, small business I should say, I pretty much control everything from the packaging, the photos I take, the products I make, everything is in my control, and I do feel like that, you know, perfectionist control freak in me does love that I can also now customize my own website. It has the font I want, it has everything laid out the way I want. I have custom order forms, which I'll get into the way I want. Everything is exactly the way I envisioned it. And my blog posts too, so I can connect even more personally with people that visit my site. That is pretty much like the most #1 pro for me personally, but I know that that's not going to be a pro for everybody. Maybe you don't want to customize a whole website, so that's just my own personal opinion. Like that on Shopify, I have tabs for different things like blog posts, collections, here's the custom dog tag form, here's the custom keychain form, so it's very like specific, and I can keep adding more tabs as I go along and edit them. So that's a huge plus for me, is that my shop is organized into the sections that I want it to. And on Etsy you can put things in groups, like here's my holiday stuff, here's the keychain stuff, and you can do that, but I just like the layout on Shopify better. Something I didn't like about Etsy is that when you wanted to do custom work, so people could pick from the drop down menu, say I want the letter M, I want pink flowers, and then that was it. You could only have 2 drop down menus as far as I know as I'm filming this, and then there was like a section you could type your own personalization. Something I like about now switching to Shopify is that I use this external site called Jotform. Let me know if you've ever used that. And I like that I have now made my forms exactly the way I want it. There's tons of drop down menus, tons of places to let me know if you want like specific details. There's just so much more room for you guys to let me know how you want your keychain to look. And that means a lot to me because then I know I'm making something exactly the way that you're envisioning it. Whereas I feel like on Etsy, I was just very limited in terms of like making custom orders. Downside, it's kind of also a downside though, because on Etsy, obviously, like it's very straightforward, whereas with Shopify, I had to make all these forms on an external site and then code it into my website. So it was definitely a little bit tricky, but it's just kind of worth it to me in the end. For certain projects, I just want there to be more options. A huge pro of Shopify is that when people go on your website, they are on your website. People are going on Etsy and they want a resin keychain. They might start looking at other shops and like price matching, seeing what they want, and then going with a different shop. Etsy just wants a sale, so they might like underneath your shop start recommending other shops or sending them ads that are similar to what they've looked at in your shop, and that could eventually lose you money. So I like that when people come to my corner on the internet, my website, it is just my website. I'm not sharing it with a bunch of other artists. Get into the Shopify cons that I have noticed so far. It is a lot more difficult to use. I'm still really getting used to it, and I think I want to sit down and watch like a whole tutorial on how to use it because I get so confused sometimes. So I would definitely say if technology is not your thing, it is not my thing, that's for sure. I would say maybe Etsy would be a better idea because it's just like a lot more of inputting your information on your products and then it's pretty much done for you, whereas Shopify, it's definitely a little more difficult. Coding things into the site was like extremely hard. It's just a lot of things that I've never done before that I found a little bit tricky. So that kind of just depends on if you want to learn that stuff and then have it custom, or if you are like, no, that sounds terribly hard, then I would say Etsy is definitely still a really good idea. Maybe it's not difficult for other people, it's just like for me personally, because I'm not tech savvy in the slightest. Again, it's kind of like, it's a con, but then it's like, at what cost? Because yeah, it's harder to use, but then I get things looking the way I want them. So you know what I mean? It's kind of like some of them are pros and cons, I feel. This could just be, again, a me thing and just not fully knowing how to use Shopify, but I found it like easier to offer free shipping on Etsy. I think that on Shopify you can, like the way I've set it up, and I've kind of tried to pretend to be a guest on my site and like check out, it does offer free shipping, but it also offers other options. On Etsy, I found it easier to just be like, this product always has free shipping. But then again, I kind of feel like it might be a good thing, because if people want to pay for shipping, then they're paying for tracking. And if that means like a lot to them, then that's something that can benefit them. Whereas on Etsy, if I had free shipping, then there was just no tracking, because that's how I send things. If you've seen my other videos about it, if you want to know how I send my orders, I'll link that video below. A small con of Shopify is that if you have your own website and you're doing your own thing, then you kind of have to have a more successful external platform to market yourself on, because Etsy could recommend your shop, you could come up on one of the front pages, you're more discoverable on Etsy. Whereas with Shopify, having my own site, you're not really going to just randomly Google Meg Dion art if you have no idea who Meg Dion is or like anything about me. You're only really clicking on that if you know who I am. It could be a con for sure, especially if you're a new business owner. I feel like I've built a decent enough platform on YouTube and other places that I can kind of switch over to my own site, but I would recommend probably Etsy if you're starting out. But when I looked at my Etsy analytics, it said that like 70+% of my clicks to my website were coming from external sources. So I thought, if that's kind of how people are finding me anyways, I don't feel like Etsy is helping me a ton to get sales. Etsy pros, let's get into it. It is very user friendly, as I've mentioned, but I just want to like make sure these points are very clear with the pros and cons. Very user friendly. I found that there's a very accessible review section on Etsy, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to do that on Shopify. So yeah, again, it's just very like simply laid out, and I like that people can just leave you reviews when they buy something. See, it says, oh, you have this many sales and this is your rating. So that's something I like about it, because then I feel like people trust it. Another pro of Etsy is that it is designed for artists, whereas I feel like Shopify can kind of be for anyone, because obviously people of all different business types sell on Shopify. So Etsy, I found like the fact that it offers customizations, like with Shopify, I had to input forms into the site. Etsy already has that built into it because it knows that you're an artist and you're selling products. Etsy is definitely designed better for artists, but I also like that Shopify's custom, so I know it's kind of hard to say. Etsy has a good reputation. If you say you have an Etsy shop, people automatically recognize that term, and then I feel like your shop does seem a little bit more validated, for lack of a better term. How am I trying to say this? I don't know how to word this. I feel like you know what I mean. Etsy just has a good reputation, so people automatically kind of trust your business when you say you have an Etsy shop. Let's get into the cons of Etsy. Again, some of these are going to be repeat points, but I just want to make sure it's structured in a way that makes sense. Very limited, so I just felt like I would go on every Etsy shop and they all are laid out the same. They all look the same. You have your logo, you have all your products. So that was just something that wasn't like super appealing to me. Etsy takes a percentage of each sale and they charge listing fees. So I'm not an expert on the whole Etsy thing. I know there's tons of videos out there. I'll actually link some below that have helped me a lot understanding like Etsy offsite ads and why people were really angry with Etsy. So I'll link that if you want some help understanding, because I probably won't be able to explain it well. Etsy does take quite a chunk of each sale, in my opinion, and they charge listing fees. So every product you're putting up, even if it doesn't sell, you're being charged a listing fee. It's really cheap. I think it's like 20 cents. But if you're putting up lots of products, it does start to add up. And on Shopify, it is a monthly flat rate. That's why I think when you're starting out, Etsy can be really good, because Etsy is only taking money if you make a sale other than the listing fee. So they're only taking a percentage of the sale and that's it. Whereas Shopify, I am paying, I think it's $32 US. So I'm not sure how much that is in Canadian. But I'm basically paying a flat fee every single month, even if I make 0 sales on that site. So you can kind of weigh your options with that. That's why I felt like Etsy was really good to start out on, because it's free to have an Etsy shop unless you are paying the listing fees, and then they're just taking a percentage of your sale. Another con I have written down that I kind of briefly mentioned is just like the Etsy advertising fees. I don't fully understand it, so like I said, I will link videos below, but as far as I know, Shopify doesn't do that, and Etsy, I'm pretty sure if somebody clicks on an Etsy ad for your shop, then Etsy gets an even greater percentage of your sale. I think it was like, I've heard numbers that are really high, but I'm not going to say them in case they're totally off. I believe if you make under 10,000, you don't have to go into the Etsy offsite ad program. Have a shop that makes a lot of money, then I think you don't have a choice and you have to be in these Etsy offsite ads. I'm not super knowledgeable on the topic, that's just kind of my brief understanding. Last con of Etsy, and this was actually brought to my attention by a friend because I never thought of it like this before, and I felt terrible after she mentioned it, but I said, what do you think is a con of Etsy? And she said that a lot of people, when they purchase something, will say, I got it on Etsy. And I was like, oh, I've been guilty of that for sure. Like, I've definitely done that, where I'll be like, oh, I got this necklace on Etsy. And it's like, no, but that's a specific shop on Etsy. But I feel like we kind of just forget. I buy a lot of molds. I buy a lot of like extra things to put in resin on Etsy. So by the time I bought all these things, I forget exactly whose shop everything came from. And that really sucks for the business owner. So yeah, I feel like if you're going onto my site and you're specifically going to megdionart.com, it's going to kind of stick in the brain more than if you're just finding me on Etsy, especially if you're not coming from an external link. I think I got through everything so far. Again, these are just my initial impressions, so these are subject to change, like I said. And if you have anything that you personally believe, please let me know. I would love to hear your opinions on Etsy, on Shopify, because I know that every business owner is different, every business is different, and we are all allowed to have our own opinions. So I appreciate hearing yours. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. Hopefully you learned a little something. If you did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you're new, if you want to stick around for more resin, art, business content. All right, I love you. Bye.